years is the Glasgow Future Cities programme. It was a £24 million programme. It had three major parts to it, in which I looked after what they called the open data part. Open data is, you know, we talk about security. There's huge issues around security. There's private data, there's personal data, there's privacy issues, there's security issues. But the thing that we were actually working with was open data. How did we make data open? And then how can we make use of it and allow people to access it, to apply it to the real problems that we've got today? That was a true challenge for us. And the whole purpose of our programme was to demonstrate the art of the possible. So what I'd like to do in the next 10 minutes is to give you some insights to some of the stories that we've been through in that programme. I think that if there is three pieces of things that I took out of that 2.5-year programme, was innovation, innovation, innovation. There was prevention and intervention. If we can innovate, we can prevent, and we can make intervention. That was a major part of the programme, whether it be in the communities, whether it be actually in the council service itself, in terms of optimising the service. But altogether, it was let's innovate, let's prevent, and let's make the right interventions. What I'd like to do, one of the things that was always a challenge for us is how do we get people to share data? Sharing data is probably the most difficult thing that I had to deal with during my whole time in Glasgow. Whether it be public data, whether it be private data, whether it be social data, trying to get people to share to allow us to connect and then provide a better service, huge problem. What I've got is a short video here. I'd just like to play to give you let's try and get let's do escape here. And that's the one. Let's play this one. I've got some volume. Need some volume here. Technology, digital. So the real challenge for any city is the ability to share data. We've got sharing agreements in place between police, between fire, ambulance service. It's a real challenge for everyone. Being able to open data and make it more transparent was part of the process that we went through probably for the first year, is just to make people work with them and to be able to share that data. Once we were able to get people to share data, then we could actually get down to the real business of how do we apply that and make a difference to the way in which we serve citizens.
It was plugged out.
So we're just going to dance up and down. Here we go, 1, 2.
Alan, I'm not quite sure what you've done with.
Okay, stand up, sit down.
So how does something like data protection affect you? And we just had this family protection law struck down for data protection issues. How much of that is going to
So data protection is always we try to the real value is when we can mix the data. And so having the ability and the technology to separate those two things to the point of need is the way we were doing that. So anonymizing the data was a really important part of the process. And once we discover the data, then we can anonymize it, and then we can make use of it. That was the way to do that. We're good to go, and here we go.
How well do you know your city? There's more to Glasgow than meets the eye. An invisible layer created by everyone living and working in the city. We all create a unique data trail as we go about our daily life. This non-personal data is the ultimate knowledge, our knowledge. By making it accessible, we can empower everyone to change our city for the better. From cyclists who need connected routes as they journey through the city, to our community seeking smarter ways to light our streets, and residents looking to keep energy bills down. By gathering data from companies, institutions and individuals to our open Glasgow platform, we can simplify this collective knowledge and make it usable. It will allow people from all walks of life to inform, support and inspire life-changing improvements to city life. Imagine, knowledge gathered from our cyclists can determine where to build new cycle paths that are safer, convenient and more enjoyable. With the help of advanced technology, Glasgow's new operations centre brings together smart lighting, pollution monitoring and improved traffic management to make our city safer and smarter. New tools can help us understand our own energy use, allowing us to make better choices to suit our homes. This could be the most adventurous development Glasgow has ever experienced, but it can't happen without you. This is your data, your knowledge, your future city. It's already happening, so start exploring.
This is Future City Glasgow. It was been able to collect the data from all the various, if like, sources, acquire it as we need it, and then apply it to the real problem spaces we have. Homelessness was one of those areas we looked at. We used community safety as another big area. There was health. We had 4 hackathons.
Sorry.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry, I was playing again. I didn't play earlier, but it's okay.
Okay, cool. So we had 4 hackathons that we got everyone together in the room as we got here, and we set them some challenges. And again, we were looking for the innovation. We were looking for, how we do prevention and how we do intervention. So if it was health, if it was safety, that we had the specialists there to find that new way, that's something different that made a difference to people's lives. That's what the challenge was for us. Just to help you on the next 2 days, you'll find that if you want to get some resources, there's probably about 2,500 data resources that you can go to on data.glasgow.gov.uk. There's 450 data sets there. Please feel free to use them. There's a whole host on homelessness. There's ones on deprivation. There's housing stock. Please feel free to use it. If you can make use of it in terms of downloading it or whatever you want to do with it. The key thing I would keep in mind is that it's not just the data itself, it's how you use it on a day-to-day basis. It's how can you actually make it useful for someone else. We started looking at the idea of predictive in Glasgow. And we can look back over the last 10 years. We can look at health cases, we can look at safety, we can look at mental health, we can look at a whole host of different things. The real challenge for us was taking that and then operationalising the prediction models that we have. It's all very well in saying that we can predict a certain outcome, but until we make people make use of it, they are actually used. The insight that it creates, it's a very, very difficult thing for people to grasp. One of the things that we were using, you take something like Amazon. I think it's Jeff Bezos now. I don't know, he was the 3rd richest man in the world now. He's based a whole business on predictive algorithm, the recommendation engine that Amazon uses. If you think about what that does, it watches your behaviour. It simply picks up on the pattern, and what it does is it plays back to you what you expect, what you want to buy next. 30% of all his sales comes from that recommendation engine. His wealth comes from that recommendation engine. If you could only apply it to solve some of the problems that we've got in homelessness, think of what the difference it could make. That's the technology that we've got available to us today. It's how we apply it to the problem space. Sometimes I get asked the question of prediction. It's how credible is it? And it is a really challenging question to ask. We can predict certain outcomes. We can predict individuals who might be at risk. In homelessness, the case is, who are the people at risk? So that we can prevent and make interventions. If we get 80% probabilities, that's a good outcome. That's better than what you're doing today. If we can simply use the algorithm that tells us that's the person at risk, this is the area they live in, or even to the point where here's the postcode that they live in. So it's although that might not be a complete, accurate 100%, if I get 80%, it's good. If I can get 60%, it's still good, because it's better than what we've got today. And providing that insight is so valuable to the service providers and for planning purposes going forward. So it's not all about 100%, but we can get 60 to 80%, and it does make a big difference. This was a piece of work we did in Glasgow. It was looking at homelessness. We were producing predictive models to see if we could determine the kind of individual. We kept away from the personal data because it's all about, what we're really looking for is the event, someone who becomes homeless or gets into that category. What are the conditions associated with that event? And if we can get the conditions, then it makes it much easier for us to identify groups of people. And that means that we can then start to predict where the risk is and who is most at risk. So again, we use a number of technologies. We will use, mapping systems are great for us. We can point out in various wards, for example, in Glasgow, where the high risk was. We use deprivation, we use housing stock, we do a whole host of different data. Big data is very useful to us because it means that we don't have to go to individuals, but we can actually come out and get context and drive it into the small data. All we're trying to do is to narrow the failure rate and the probability of identifying those people at risk. There is one part of the hackathon I think is extremely important to look at over the next 2 days, is when you're thinking about the product. If you think about if you can help 1 or 2 groups in a ward, it may be 100 people. If that one small innovation